Thank you for your persistence.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I'm here once again to present this year's version of the bill, AB 2016, which will require an instructional quality commission to develop an ethnic studies model curriculum that could be offered at California school districts and charter schools to students grades 9 through 12 as an elective course for social sciences or English language arts. As you may recall, last year I was here seeking your support for a similar bill, AB 101, which was eventually vetoed by the governor. In his veto message, the governor noted that the IQC was already revising social studies framework to include ethnic studies as part of that curriculum. Although the IQC has taken a lead to create a framework in response to the demand for ethnic studies in our schools, it doesn't go far enough. This bill will give school districts and charter schools a comprehensive ethnic studies curriculum that is available to use if they wish as an elective for all their students. A recent study published by Stanford University has shown that struggling high school students improve their overall academic performance after taking ethnic studies courses offered in their high schools. This bill will help close the achievement gap by using this ethnic studies curriculum, and will help reduce student truancy, increase student enrollment, reduce dropout rates, and better prepare California students to be college prepared and career ready. Further, this bill acknowledges the diversity of California as exemplified through all of our school districts. The model curriculum would be developed to provide school districts and charter schools the flexibility to develop ethnic studies course that reflects the demographics of their students and surrounding communities. This bill is supported by the chairs of the API, the Black, the Jewish and the Latino legislative caucuses. It has bipartisan support and is jointly authored by our good friend, Assemblymember Chadjian. And just last week, we were also very proud that for the first time, our state superintendent, Tom Torlakson, is supporting this bill. I respectfully ask for your aye vote on this bill. And with me today, I have some witnesses, Giselle Pantoja, a sophomore at George Washington Carver School of the Arts and Sciences, and Dominique Williams, a social science teacher from Sacramento Unified.
Thank you. In support of the bill, please.
Hello, my name is Giselle Pantoja. I'm 15 years old and a rising sophomore at George Washington Carver School of Arts and Science in Sacramento. I'm here today to share a personal statement on the importance of ethnic studies being provided to students inside the California state public school system. My parents had me only a year after moving to the United States from Mexico. My mother was a person that always took me to school, picked me up, and supported me. However, there was always a language barrier between her and the school. She was never able to give her input or help me with my homework. Because of this, I felt that our language just wasn't important or needed as English, which in turn led me to hate my ethnicity while growing up. This was in part because of what I saw or didn't see at school. When I started learning about history at school, I just assumed that we, people of color, weren't as important because all the information was Eurocentric. The way textbooks portrayed Europeans was that they were the protagonists, the conquerors, the central figures in this story of the world and its people, but that isn't right. People of color have done so many amazing things that shouldn't be forgotten and which should be a part of the school curriculum for all to learn about and grow from. It was at home where I finally learned that my culture was beautiful and that I am just important. All the holidays, foods, and traditions we celebrate helped me realize that, yes, we are different, but it is what makes my culture so amazing. If I had learned more about my history and everyone else's in school, I wouldn't have gone through so much self-hate in my childhood. Instead, I would have been proud that I could speak a different language and that I have certain features that are common in Mexicans, and I would have rejected the idea that white is the idealistic way to be. Unfortunately, many of my peers still hate on their ethnicity, cultural practices, or nationality the way that I did, without even knowing it. I often hear my classmates putting others of the same race down for having darker skin or promoting stereotypes about race, or thinking they need to change something about themselves in order to have European features. I worry that they are likely going to live this way for the rest of their lives because they did not learn self-love through the education system by reading about and seeing representations of positive contributions of their cultures. Within an ethnic studies class, young people will not only learn their ancestors' struggles, but they will also learn their peer struggles. They will discover that they have more in common than they realize. An ethnic studies course will teach high school students to be more accepting and respectful of their own selves and others. And in the world we live in today, that is what we need. California is a highly diverse population and should be studied by all students. Yet if we are only studying from a Eurocentric perspective, one group, this means that we are not covering many students' history, struggle, or stories. It shouldn't be a privilege to know our own history and past, it should be a right. I believe that an ethnic studies course will finally start to break down the final wall of privilege that some hold. The way we have been learning history before is only going to keep us self-hate. The only way we've been learning history before is going to keep us self-hating. When more and more people become educated on the subject of other cultures, as well as their own, we are going to have less of a division and more unity in race, class, and gender. And this is needed and good for our neighborhoods, city, state, and country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In support of the bill.
Hi, my name is Dominique Williams. I am I'm one of the pilot teachers for ethnic studies in the Sacramento City Unified School District, and I've taught only history for the last 2 years. Ethnic studies is near and dear to my heart because I majored in ethnic studies, and I believe that studying ethnic studies was one of the driving forces that motivated me to finish college as a first-generation college student. I imagine that if students were exposed to this curriculum and knowledge when they were in their teens, that they would also be empowered and that it would help narrow the achievement gap for students of color. As we have conversations about what should be taught in ethnic studies, we know that what we should teach is based on who we teach. So this bill talks about the local teaching of ethnic studies. When I look back at how ethnic studies has impacted my life, it allowed me to have adult conversations that I always felt was intuitive, like there were issues that weren't being discussed, but I knew they needed to be discussed, and it allowed me to intellectualize and put an academic discipline behind what was just very true. I felt that I was able to find value in myself and my community and then take that value and put it on others in their communities. When I look at some of the challenges we have in our schools, I imagine what a critical ethnic studies curriculum could do to place value on individuals in their communities, to empower them for social justice, and to be a vehicle for healing and much needed change in our schools. I used to think ethnic studies was necessary because students of color really needed to see themselves in the curriculum. Now I know that ethnic studies is necessary for all students so that they may have a meaningful introduction to cultural competency. As we hear the issues facing education today, and we've heard many of them, I can't help but wonder how many of them would be mitigated if ethnic studies was part of our compulsory K-12 education. It is with compassion for students and communities and a hope for teaching students to care about each other that I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you very much. Others in support of the bill, please identify yourself and your organization.
Yes, good afternoon or good morning still. My name is Dr. Margarita Berta Avila, and we're in support of representing Ethnic Studies Now Coalition Sacramento chapter.
Thank you.
Erica Hoffman on behalf of the California School Boards Association in support of the bill.
Thank you.
Gina De Silva with the California Immigrant Policy Center in support.
Thank you.
I'm Mario Galvan, member of the Association of Raza Educators, which is a member of the Ethnic Studies Now Coalition Sacramento in strong support.
Thanks.
Madam Chair and members, Isabel Garcia on behalf of the California Teachers Association. We're in strong support.
Thank you.
Barrett Snyder on behalf of the San Francisco Unified School District in support.
Thanks.
Enrique Rocha on behalf of the Los Angeles Unified School District in support.
Nora Lynn on behalf of the California Faculty Association in support.
Thank you.
Alejandro Cortez on behalf of the Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund in support.
Thank you.
Sue Vang on behalf of State Superintendent of Public Instruction in support, and want to thank the author as well as his staff for working with us on this bill.
Thank you.
Christopher Ibarra from Stockton in support.
Thank you.
Jesus Corona, from member of the Stockton community, and I'm here to support. Also a father of multicultural children, and I think it's important that they learn both sides of their culture, not just one.
Thank you.
My name is Motecuzoma Sanchez. I'm the founder and director of community-based organizations that promote education in Stockton called Semillas, and also the chair of Ethnic Studies Now, chapter for Stockton. I'm working with Stockton Unified to help develop the curriculum for ethnic studies. I was as an undergrad, I was an ethnic studies major, and I transferred from San Joaquin Delta College, Community College in Stockton, barely scraping by with a 2.1 GPA, and ended up graduating Sac State with a 3.89 in ethnic studies. That led me to also be accepted to the Capital Fellowship. I was a former Assembly Fellow for now Senator Pan. And so I urge strong support for this bill. I think it's long overdue and it's very needed for all of our children, all of our students, and really to do a lot of eye-opening for our society in California. I think current events are kind of highlighting the need for that. Ethnic studies, to understand it in its most basic form, is really the ability to be able to understand what this mural means that stands behind you. And so I urge strong support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any others in support? Is there any opposition to the bill? Seeing none, are there questions from members? Senator Block.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm proud to be a principal co-author of the bill, along with Senator Hall. Senator Hall is chair of the Black Caucus, I as chair of the Jewish Caucus, see the importance for all groups in California to have ethnic studies taught in the high schools, whether you are a quote minority group or a majority group. It's important that we understand each other, and I thank the author for bringing this forward, and I, along with Senator Pan, will move the bill.
Senator Pan? You're carrying the banner.
Happy to support the bill and proud that the API Legislative Caucus is also in support. And how can I gainsay my former fellow? So let's move the bill.
Thank you. Senator Huff.
Statement and a question. So last year I supported the bill, which is substantially similar, AB 101. The governor vetoed it with the observation, as I'm sure you know, he says it's essentially a redundant process. The Instructional Quality Commission is in the midst of revising the history social science framework, which includes guidance on ethnic studies courses. So given his propensity, actually his action of vetoing your bill last year, his comment that it's redundant, how is this different from what he has stated, or why is it necessary?
No, thank you for the question, Senator Huff, and I knew I was going to be asked that question, but what's happening this year that didn't happen last year is that we've been engaging with the governor's office. There seems to be interest and trying to address some of the concerns, but we certainly got a receptive dialogue and communication going on with the governor's office that wasn't there last year, so we're very hopeful that we could get this signed into law. And if you actually look at what he pointed out, it's two very different things that are happening in the bill. If you look at the description of ethnic studies that is done in the social studies framework by the IQC, it's mostly a description of what ethnic studies does. And you might change a few words or here from the previous version, but it's basically a description. It doesn't give a teacher, it doesn't give a school district an actual curriculum that could be used, that is a model curriculum that could be actually used and applied in a classroom. So if you were an ethnic studies teacher now, there's not a standard curriculum that you could pull that is appropriate for grades 9 through 12 in order to actually teach the class. This is a very big step forward. It was much broader in our goal originally. We were trying to make sure that every high school offered a class. We removed that mandate. Now we're solely focused on a curriculum, and I think it's a big step forward to making classes more available if schools or districts choose to do that. But if you look at the numbers, there's over 1.7 million high school students in our public high schools in California. And if you look at that analysis, only about 9,000, less than 1%, have access to take an ethnic studies course currently. So even though ethnic studies was a major milestone of the civil rights movement, and today, at our most prestigious universities across our state, we have BA programs, master's, PhD in ethnic studies. But at the high school level, we haven't made very many gains when less than 1% of our students have access to an ethnic studies course. So we think this is a big step forward in terms of creating the first ever curriculum in any state that will, I think, help make these courses more available in California's public high schools.
Okay, any other questions from members? I think the bill was moved, right? You guys moved the bill? All right, several times, okay. Well, I appreciate your bringing this forward again. Thank you for your persistence, and wishing you the best. We'll vote on the bill.
Item 12, AB 2016. The motion is due pass to appropriations. Lou?
Aye.
Lou, aye. Block? Block, aye. Hancock?
Aye.
Hancock, aye. Huff? Huff, aye. Leyva? Leyva, aye. Mendoza? Monning? Monning, aye. Pan? Pan, aye. Vidak? Vidak, aye. That's 8-0.
8-0. We'll keep the roll open. We're absent one member.
Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you very much. Okay, the last bill of the day, item 15, AB 2183, Gatto.